Today I'm going to talk about some of the things we take while we go kayak camping. First, you'll need to find a kayak. Some kayaks are suited for different waters better. This one is suited more for whitewater type water, but it can be used on flat water also. This boat is better suited for flat water and going faster while being able to store more gear. The third kayak is the average recreational kayak. While they are great for most things, they may not have the most storage or the ability to handle rapids or anything to that nature. The next piece of gear you need to think about would be your paddle. You can get the average aluminum paddle, which works great, and you can paddle all day with this. While you can get a carbon fiber paddle, which will allow you to paddle even more miles in a day. We've paddled up to close to 35 miles even a day with a fast moving water, and without any pain in the arms or anything. It really helps for a longer day on the river. Next, depending on what river you're on and what kind of water it is, you might need a skirt for your kayak to keep the water out. And then obviously you'll need your life jacket. Alright, let's talk more about the camping part and less about the kayaking part. Our choice of sleeping would be in a hammock because it's just much more compact and smaller than a tent. However, many people do choose to sleep in tents, and they're comfortable also. You'll also need a sleeping bag, which very much depends on what kind of weather you're going to be sleeping in. Obviously a down sleeping bag or other synthetic fibers are warmer. We just have the cheap Walmart sleeping bags, and they've been fine. They're not quite as compact and they're not quite as warm, but they've done us fine just so far, so that's what we have. But on the same note, for sleeping you'll want a hat probably if it's going to be cold, and definitely some long pants. If there's bugs, if there's anything like that, it'll help. But you want something light and small. Next, we'll move on to the things such as first aid kit. Whenever we go, every person has their own first aid kit in their kayak in case we were to get separated or one person is to fall out and get swept downstream and need to help themselves. You know, make sure you have gauze and band-aids, and usually Tylenol or ibuprofen is good. We even take some burn cream because when you're camping you could burn yourself, and some tape. And then we always pack matches all throughout the boat just in case you need to make fire. Along the same note, we take shampoo in a bottle, and we take some Muscle, like icy hot, and we take some aloe for if we get any sunburns. We also take some Germ-X because you need to clean your hands before you eat and whatnot. Another essential is sunscreen. You're going to be out there in the boat all day long in the sun. You need to put some sunscreen on. You're gonna regret it the next day. Next, you're going to need something to cook with. We have it was a Walmart stove. It was like $20. It just attaches to these butane stoves or stove cans, and you can cook quite a few times on one can. They make cook kits, however, from what we found, they are way too small to be cooking for multiple people. So we just robbed the kitchen of some small pans and pots and just use those. They're not quite as space efficient, but so far we haven't had an issue. We also found that using metal silverware is much more effective than taking the plastic silverware because obviously it can melt and the metal can't. In terms of making fire, There are different ways that you can get the wood. You can take a hatchet, you can take an axe, but so far what we found is a collapsible saw is the easiest way to cut the wood, and it's safer too. While you're camping, you're going to need some water, and so far what we found for the water, the easiest way is to get a filter. We got the Sawyer mini filter, and we just drink the water straight from the river with this filter, and it's perfectly fine. It doesn't make us sick, it doesn't cause any problems. It's the Life Straw is another option, but this one is actually around the same price point and actually will filter much more water. The next thing you're going to have to think about while on the trip is the weather that can be expected and unexpected. On our last trip, the forecasts were for quite a lot of rain, and we went and bought the Frog Tog rain suits that have the pants and the jacket, which were very nice for keeping us dry. But we always on the trips take some just emergency rain ponchos, because you never know when a rainstorm might come through and you might need it. The next thing you're going to have to think about is how you're going to keep all your gear dry. These Seal Gear bags are actually from the Dollar Tree, and from what we've used, they keep everything dry like they're supposed to. And for $1 a piece, we have quite a few of these. We also have some larger bags like this one, or some that aren't quite as large but still will hold quite a bit of gear. And these aren't perfect, but we always wrap our clothes and sleeping bags, everything that's important to stay dry, we wrap it in a trash bag along with a waterproof bag. Our newest waterproof bag is this duffel bag that rolls down like the other ones, and it's probably my favorite so far, but it's very difficult to pack inside the kayak, so we put it on top for storage, and it stayed dry the whole trip. And speaking of all these bags, every single one of these was either a Walmart waterproof bag or Dollar Tree, like those little ones. So everything we have here was fairly reasonable price, and considerably cheap compared to what other gear can be. One last thing I forgot to mention is bilge pump. Anytime you're going, really, even if it's not going to be any white water, I would recommend taking a bilge pump to just take the water out of your boat, because you never know, you might roll in. If you get rain, it might just come in. A bilge pump and just a car wash sponge are good to take and keep the water out of your boat. One last major thing is what all of this gear is sitting on. You'll need a tarp. I prefer a tarp that's at least the length of the hammock, which our hammocks are 11 foot, so we have a 15 by 11 foot tarp. That way it'll keep us dry. This last trip, like I said before, it rained, and we were able to put this up, and all three of us were able to huddle under this while it was pouring the rain down, and we were able to wait out the storm and kept us all dry. This was just a short explanation of the gear that we take on the trips with us and how we use it, and I hope that you all are able to find gear and get out there and kayak some rivers and camp. I'd really recommend it to everyone. We're no professionals, but we just have a fun time doing it, and think everyone would too.